This is Maggio at Studio Anavami in Santa Cruz with the podcast Marking into the Paradigm, an approach to creative process in visual arts to change perceptions of the world and our belonging. This episode, Becoming Like Other, is about a technique for expanding our perceptions as we feel into the imaginal realm, remembering our ancient relationship to other beings, the life force of the animate and the inanimate. Animism, coined by anthropologists in the 19th century, describes cultures that were thought to give properties of soul to things outside human domain. This narrow definition has a derogative overtone of the colonizer. Animism also means that the animate and inanimate alike have a force of beingness. To recognize it does not necessarily mean to understand it in our terms. Most cultures of the world, including modern-day Japan, have an underlying sense that nothing is pure matter, but has its own spirit. In fact, our culture is an anomaly in history when we conclude that only humans have being. Mimes, which is how we learn and socialize by copying, is a strong element of a cultural or system to pass behavior from one individual to another by imitation. Children, before they are taught differently in our culture, not only relate to the life of things, but spontaneously become like other things. No one teaches a small child how to become like a dinosaur. Central to our art practice, marking into the paradigm, is to explore shifting our perspective of reality to a larger sphere that entertains more possibilities. We are not saying this is how things are, but trying it on to see how it adds a new perspective. Collectively, our relationship to nature has taken a big hit in our lifetime. Our experiment with capitalism has created the strategy to control nature for profit. We have become alienated from nature as we continue to create climate change. The animism as an attitude in Japan permeates every aspect of life. Children are instilled with the idea that things like to be cared for, to be appreciated. All aspects of nature are perceived to have their own special kind of spirit. I sat and watched gardeners with straw ropes transferring the spirit of a deceased pine tree to a nearby tree before they cut it down. I'm not saying that the Japanese have perfect balance with nature, but they are animistic through and through. How we perceive the world around us defines our values and how we see ourselves in relation to the greater world. The marking art practice is experimental. We cultivate curiosity, making pathways outside of what we think we know. It is often uncomfortable to have no prototype or design or a clue as to where it may go. It requires developing a connection to the relational field. Relational fields are invisible, yet palpable, fields of energy that connect us when we are present to someone or something. The more resourceful and congruent we become, the more our energy and presence begins to shape the relational field in which we are interacting. There is a texture that begins to accompany awareness of the field and being within the field of life. Art materials can access the container of the space that holds the field. Art materials can access the container of the space that holds the field. Yielding to the field illuminates the conversation that makes room for dichotomies, such as effortful effortlessness and doing non-doing. We begin with the intention to cultivate a responsiveness to what happens in the moment rather than what we want to happen. This shifting, sometimes called reality shifting, is a way of training our mind to go into the imaginal realm that you can walk around in and participate in like a nighttime dream. And there'll be another podcast on this imaginal realm. The one thing that we all agree on is there is a delight, a curiosity, a surprise, even enthrallment with this process. That is, unless you are wanting to prove something or if you're trying to make it good. It is an experimental adventure that a goal of success can cut short. If you don't produce something surprising or perplexing, you're probably staying in the safe zone, the known. In this endeavor, there need not be an evaluation of laws of design or aesthetics. It can be especially challenging for anyone with art training to let go of the old standards of judgment. The place of analysis is not wrong, but tends to pull us into conditioned and safe modes of reacting. Josh Schrei, in the Emerald podcast, Neck Hairs and Shape-Shifting, says, "We shift knowing to learn to communicate, to awaken dormant faculties, to return to conjunctive knowing with nature." This is what we are doing. Thank you for listening to Marking Into the Paradigm, an approach to creative process that experiments with altering our perceptions of reality to realize our innate belonging.